Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome another edition of Boxing Chit. We are back after a slight hiatus, but all things are up and running. We're good now. Shout out to John L. Sullivan. You see the fit right here, Sullivan, the man out there. But anyway, Boxing Chit. We're talking boxing action. What happened? What went down here this past weekend? Have none other than Boz here with me. How's it going, Boz?
Yeah, it's going well. I mean, we had a lot of sun this spring so far, and yeah, I can't complain. Yeah,
Good to go. Yeah, the weather has been pretty good here on this end. The pollen count is heavy. It's pollen all over the place. But that being said, we're good. And as we know, regardless of the weather, boxing keeps going. And we had a stacked weekend of boxing this past weekend that we're going to get into. So we appreciate everyone as always. You can do us a favor, give us a like, subscribe. Be sure to turn on that notification bell. Of course, you're here right now on multiple channels. So you have the 86 Boxing channel, and of course, you have Boz's Boxing. It's linked there as well, streaming live. So we appreciate everyone who is here in attendance and those that will join in at varying points. Real quick, shout out to Skywalker Boxing Media. Says, good morning, brothers. Appreciate you there, Skywalker. Be sure to go check out Skywalker. Do the same. Like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Good content going down over there. And Skywalker is at an event that went down in, I believe, Albuquerque yesterday, an amateur boxing event. So, we show love to the amateur boxing world out here as well. So we appreciate it. But we are good, folks. We are in here. Another edition of Boxing Chit. And as I was mentioning there, Boz, action-packed, stacked weekend. Man, it's almost like
yeah.
where to start, but I guess we can start with the last fight of the night that was the last card, I guess, headlined by some names that we all are familiar with. Certainly the top name from down under there in Tszyu, son of Costa Tszyu. And Tszyu actually coming off a two-fight losing streak, so he was looking to get back in the mix, and he was going to be taking on Joey Spencer. Now, if you're familiar with Joey Spencer, American fighter from the Midwest somewhere, trained by his father, rattled off 19 victories. He turned pro at 17. I don't know what his amateur background was like, but he learned a lot on the job from what I could tell. And this was no doubt a step up for him, just as the case was for his last fight. And I think we saw that, hey, be tough there at that top level there because Tim Drew, as far as I'm concerned, looked pretty good in getting the finish that he needed and finished that thing with a fourth round TKO stoppage. And Spencer's father threw it in, but Tim Tszyu, he was going for
Yeah.
it, like they're showing their bodies. He was going for the kill when he had that opportunity right there, and he took advantage of it when he had Spencer hurt there. Want to get your thoughts on that, Boz, in terms of that fight and Tszyu bouncing back and what could be next for him.
Well, yeah, Tim looked good. I mean, of course, he was, of course, fighting someone who was under his, not on his level, but yeah. I mean, it was a one-sided fight. Yeah, Tim just did what he was supposed to. He paced himself at first. Yeah, didn't want to overcommit and throw too much, and then he landed the right punches at the right time, and yeah, it was very good, very accurate, and in the end, he of course stopped him with that rapid fire barrage. Yeah, landed a lot of punches in those 4 rounds, and yeah, it was a good stoppage by a corner of Spencer. Also, they could have let him. I mean, if they weren't so concerned, maybe they would have probably let him absorb even more punishment. But there was no
Now
reason for it.
I knew his father was going to throw it because he's trained by his father. I knew he was going to throw
Right.
in the towel because the
Yeah.
last fight Spencer he took on Jesus Ramos, and that was a step up for him right there. And he was taking a shellacking. His father stopped it then as well.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. As Skywalker said, Team Two was hungry. Yeah. He needed that win, and he needed to look good. He didn't want to struggle to have to to win. Of course, that wouldn't have looked good. So, after you said he experienced 2 straight losses, and the last one was more devastating, of course, to Murtaza. And now, where he's headed, of course, he's headed towards a rematch against one of those guys. I don't know which one it will be, but I believe Fundora, he recently fought, I believe, or something.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and Murtaza Aliyev has a fight, I think, coming up, or I believe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
He made
Anyway, a fight should happen like in maybe in the fall, against one of those guys, or maybe somebody else. I don't know, in that division. I don't know who else is out there, but that he can fight. But I would like to see him fight Fundora again, especially because what happened there, that wasn't really fair. He was really cut up badly. That fight should have been stopped, like after 3-4 rounds or something, probably. So, but
some criticized his corner, saying they should have stopped it because it was known to have been a headbutt or an elbow. It might have been an elbow, I think.
The elbow. He stumbled. That was really weird. Such a freak accident. I mean, you rarely see that. I mean, it was the end of the second round, and then he was about, I don't know, to go towards his corner, but somehow he stumbles, and then his head goes straight towards Fundora's elbow. And man, how many times have you seen that happen? Really few times.
Pretty crazy.
And that ruined the whole fight. So that was unfair. But of course, Fundora is much taller, but still, that should not mean that he is unbeatable, of course, for a team.
Certainly.
So, yeah. And as for Murtaza Aliyev lost, that was, I think, he was trying to get back too soon, I guess, and against a too dangerous opponent also, obviously. And he got blown away. He got caught. That happens. So no.
And as I understand it, he didn't have a ton of knockouts, right?
Yeah, Murtaza Aliyev. Yeah, he didn't exactly have so many before that, but almost the same situation as with Munguia and Suras. Yeah.
Sometimes it's those when you're trying too hard, you go in there, you're not focused on actually using this game plan and strategy that was set forth. You go in there and you end up taking situations or losses like that, where you get knocked out by guys who you think would normally not knock you out.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I mean, there have been some pretty amazing upsets in the past year or so. Yeah, when you look at it. Yep, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. No, that's good stuff right there. Real quick, shout out to Jesus M dropped in this thing right there. Appreciate you, Jesus. Shout out to Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. Salute there to you, Bruce Gas. Appreciate you. Be sure to go check them out, folks. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you're in here, do it here as well. But be sure to check out Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, some great trivias and etc. that go on over there. I was in one not too long ago and lost, like a few days back. I lost. I never win. But hey, it's all good. It makes you better. So appreciate you there, Bruce. Shout out to my man Rodolfo Rivera Jr. in the mix there. Appreciate you there, Rodolfo. Hey, it's all good. It's good stuff right there. Skywalker mentioned if he would have lost this being Tszyu, it would have been his career. Glad to see Costa in his corner for the knockout victory. Oh yes, apparently that last fight was the first time, if I'm not mistaken, at least I heard someone say that lost to the Mikhailiev dude or whatever his name is was the first time Costa had been there in, I don't know if it was the entirety of his pro career, but certainly for a long period of time. So he's back there, I guess, ringside, showing some love. Or in the mix there. Maybe
he's a lot, of course, to have his old man there and a legend, of course, in the sport. And
yeah, no doubt about it. And talking Australia, gotta talk Tszyu. Man, big time puncher right there for sure. Just thinking about it historically.
The adopted Aussie.
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah, adopted Aussie, Russian descent. But they're Aussies, they live in the land down under, baby. But no, that's good
Yeah,
stuff. Hey, and you mentioned potential rematch with those other guys, but hey, another thing that has been thrown out there, Boz, is a fight that was originally going to happen probably a year ago, which was Tszyu versus Keith Thurman. Now,
oh
Keith Thurman, he fought recently, knocked out
yeah,
Jarvis Brock, or Brock
yeah,
Jarvis or whatever. And I think that some of the chatter was because that went down in Australia, they're still going to try and make that Zoo Thurman fight. Both of them are under the
well,
PBC
oh
banner right
yeah.
there. So
I
what do you think?
remember now. Yeah, of course, that was supposed to happen. There was a lot of talking back and forth, trash talking, yeah,
Yep.
between them. Yeah, yeah, of course. I would like to see that one. I mean, now with Thurman, he's still, I mean, no longer, I would say, in his prime, despite
Yeah.
this victory that he got. But I mean,
Did
who
you
is
see him
Brock
against
Jarvis?
Brock Jarvis or Jarvis?
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that as well because he looked good in that, but it was an
yeah.
opponent he should have beat.
Even though, yeah, even though at first he did take some punches from Jarvis in the first round, but then, yeah, I mean the difference in class, skill level just showed, and Thurman, he has fought at 154 before. I mean,
Yeah.
so, and he does have power. I mean, he stopped that guy. Was it Quintana? Yeah, he stopped him in
Okay.
2012, actually at 154. So I don't know why he went back to 147. I was actually a little surprised when he did that, but I guess
Yeah.
it was because of the competition, maybe, and that whole esteem that division holds, or
Yeah.
did back then. So yeah. So that
Yeah.
would
It
be
may have been that. It may have been that for sure there. But I think that Thurman is crazy to say. It's crazy. When I was chatting, they might have been chatting it when I was linked up with Skywalker. Then we were on a broadcast, but I was saying that in 2017, I thought that Keith Thurman was the number one welterweight. But that's
huh.
2017, isn't it
Yeah,
crazy? Back in the mix here right now,
probably. Yeah, probably was. He beat
Yeah, yeah,
Sean Porter, and yeah, also had a few good victory others. I mean, I now don't remember the other right
yeah.
now, but
And then I think after that, when he beat Danny Garcia, that was like
yeah,
2018.
Danny, that's right. And Luis, well, Colazo was already past it when he beat
Yeah,
him. It was a corner stoppage, I remember.
yeah, yeah. That is right. But him at 154 is going to be interesting at this stage. We'll see how he does, but that's potentially going to happen. Zoo versus Thurman. And in that contest, it's hard to say. I like some of the traits of both of them. I'm still not sure on Keith Thurman. He's had so much inactivity, and
Yeah,
yeah, it'll
that's
be
the
interesting
thing.
to see how he does. It's just the inactivity is that's a lot right
Yeah.
there because if you look at from like we were
Yes.
saying 2017, 2018, he hasn't had that many fights since then.
Yeah, and fighting someone like Brock Jarvis is not the same as fighting one
Yeah.
of those top dogs, at 154. So
Yeah, no, that's a good point right there. So very interesting. But hey, Tim Zoo's back in that win column, so he did his stig over there. There was a good fight that came on before that. I forget who the two guys were that were fighting, but we're gonna move on to another card that went down overseas, and this was in Manchester, and it was headlined by none other than the juggernaut Joe Joyce in a 10-rounder against Filip Hrgovic. Filip Hrgovic, of course, we know Joyce. We definitely know Joyce, but Filip Hrgovic, of course, was a guy that, hey, a lot of hopes for the Croatian sensation, I guess you can call him. But
yeah,
there are a lot of hopes for him there in the heavyweight division. Had a slight setback when he lost to Daniel Dubois. I think that was last year. He lost to him. It was a cut, and
yeah,
then it ended up being stopped, I
was.
believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
But going
almost a
into
year
that,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
going into that fight, many thought that Hrgovic was going to win that contest, and he had his moments, no
yeah,
doubt about it.
he did. He
He
did. He
had his
just
moments.
spent himself too early, and just started too like way too aggressively from the first bell. But now, yeah, you could see he was kind of pacing himself a little bit more. He still did kind of throw a lot in the first 4 rounds. Then later he kind of took some breaks. in the fifth, sixth round, and
Yeah.
then later on he really came back and finished strong in the last two rounds, and especially in the ninth. Well, but yeah, I mean Joyce, he just proved that he still has a very good chin. It's just that
Oh yeah.
Zhang, who knocked him out, he's just his power is just of another world, obviously. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I
but
agree with
yeah,
that. I agree with that for sure. That's one thing that came out of it for sure. I could tell that Joyce,
yeah,
man, yeah, he has a chin made of iron for sure because he was taking some
yeah.
absolutely huge shots and he was basically eating them and continued to come forward. That
Was
was the Joyce we were
that's the
used to
thing.
seeing right there.
Yeah, but I mean, even but on the other side, I kind of discovered like now, like maybe a year ago, that Hergovic's power it's good, but it's not great. I wouldn't say he's a great puncher, but he when he hits you with several big punches, like a barrage maybe, or I don't know. He usually needs to hit you with a lot of punches to stop you. Usually, if you are like a better fighter with a better chin anyway, you can always stop a bum who has no chin easily, of course. But
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
solid fighter, yeah, it's a different thing. Who has a solid chin also, of course.
yeah.
So yeah,
No,
he's been fighting a lot of these tough guys like Zhang and Dubois and now Joyce. So yeah, that also one must take into account. Like maybe I mean I'm saying yeah, he's got good power definitely, but it's not like
hmm
Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua power.
yeah, true. True. No, I think that factors into it. He actually has a pretty solid resume, considering the trajectory and all, and especially
Yeah,
over the last few years, his resume is pretty darn solid. Just as far as some of the guys he's been in with, and Joyce adds another notch to that because it went down as a 10-round unanimous decision victory in favor of Hergovich, which was the right decision. Joyce
yeah.
kept coming forward. I tell you that. Tell you what, that chin is something else. But he
Mhm.
just didn't have enough firepower
Nice.
offensively to do anything with Hergovich. And Hergovich, man, he just kept catching him with the overhand right, like it was
Yeah,
nothing right there. And Joyce,
yeah,
to his credit, he was eating it. I give him that. I don't know. Lesser men would have been down well beyond that point.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, I thought there was a chance that Hergovich could stop him, but on second thought, I was like, nah, probably gonna go the distance,
Oh
probably win
yeah,
on points, and yeah, Joyce's punches look sloppy,
yeah,
most of them. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they
And hey,
didn't hurt Hergovich.
yeah, you're right. And another thing is, I think from my perspective, Herkovich, he needs to work on his conditioning because he was looking tired there after
Yeah,
probably
it's
about three
true.
or four rounds.
Yeah,
And
he got cut right from the like,
oh
first
yeah,
punch that Joyce landed. Well,
and I wonder
what
was
the
that
hell
the
is this?
same spot where he got the cut from with Dubois? I thought I saw
Yeah,
scar tissue there.
and he got cut also against Zhang. I think in the first round here on the head somewhere. I mean,
Okay,
like, what's wrong with this guy? Why does he cut so easily? Like, come on, it's not
yeah,
good for
and
a
he kept
boxer.
and so one of the things he kept going to the corners with his back against the ropes. He kept doing that in the latter portion of the fight. Now,
Yeah,
if it would have been
yeah,
someone who had more offense, they could have taken advantage of that. But
yeah,
Joyce, he didn't really have much variety to his offense. But that's something Herkovich is going to have to work on right there. If he's
yeah,
tired and all, but just backing himself towards the corner ropes, I don't know if that's the
yeah.
wise thing when you're in there with big punchers.
Yeah, I mean, you to go, against the ropes and do this. It's not a good idea
Right.
against the top heavyweight. You're gonna get hit. And I don't sure, I don't think, I'm not sure, but I think for him to beat the Dubois, I mean, it'll take a lot. I don't think he will do this. I don't think he can
Yeah.
do it. Simply,
Yeah. It certainly will because Dubois, he has that determination as well. And
yeah.
that will make
And
it
he's
interesting for sure.
improved. He's also improved as a boxer. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
altogether, like the way he threw those punches against Joshua and landed them, I'm really almost shocked at how easily he landed all those
Oh,
punches.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was an amazing performance, really.
No, you are correct. I know we discussed Dubois and him getting that version of the WBA title, which seemed to be pretty early on. But I think now, yeah, you're right. He has improved, and I think he's
Yeah,
worthy of that billing right there. So it'll be interesting to see where
yeah,
what happens next for him as far as who will ultimately go up against. Because I don't think anything is announced right
yeah.
now either.
And I don't think Hergovich knew. I don't think he was aware how much Dubois had improved. That's why I think he
Yeah,
went out like he did, just swinging, and he thought, "I'm gonna knock him out in 4 or 5 rounds." But
yeah.
he failed to do that, and then it was like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Yeah,
Yeah, it forced us to change the tune a bit because, like I said, yeah, I think many people thought that Herkovich was going to blast Dubois out there, but Dubois said,
yeah,
no. He had actually, Dubois, he's been on a pretty impressive run here over the last year plus.
yeah.
So he's definitely one of the top dogs out there for sure. As
Very
for
good
Herkovich,
run.
yep, as for Herkovich, this is a boost for him. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah,
see what's next, which is hard to say now. You know, some could throw out, hey, a potential rematch with John. But that being said, I don't know. I
I
don't know if that's something he
yeah,
wants. I'm sure everyone
I
wants.
want to see that. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
just too. It would be too much, yeah, too much pain that for two. I mean, yeah, Zhang is just now also past it, obviously, and I mean he got taken out by a 6'3" guy for crying out
Yep,
loud, and
yep.
yeah,
How about you?
so yeah, he should just focus on the bigger, I mean, and fresher opponents than Zhang, and but now he really needed this victory, Ergovic, because I think he lost. He would find himself back in the waiting line, way
Oh
back,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
He'd have been
and
far
he's
back had he taken
32.
that loss.
He's 32. He cannot afford to wait too long. Also,
Most
because
certainly, yes, yes. No, this is what he needed because I'm 100% in agreement. If he lost, yeah, he'd have been far back in the line, which is already a log jam at the top anyway. There's so many
yeah,
who could get a title shot in theory, but it's just, yeah, it's not gonna happen, you know.
yeah, no. I mean, he's not based in the U.S., so that makes it a little harder for him to get all the big fights, and he has to keep winning to get that, of course, those fights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no doubt about it. I think that is certainly the case there, Boz. So very interesting there. So that was Hergovich or Joyce. As for Joyce, I mean, yeah, his
yeah,
title picture is pretty much closed. That title window is pretty much closed. I would say he's still around. We'll see what he continues to do. I mean, we saw that
yeah,
hey, his chin can hold up pretty well, but as far as that title picture, I think that is closed for Joyce.
yeah. Maybe a rematch with Chisora. I don't know. No. I
Yeah,
mean, that's the only maybe logical fight for him,
yeah.
or fight someone like that guy that fought also on the undercard, Adelaide, how you pronounce it, David Adelaide.
Oh yeah, David Adelaide. Oh yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah,
that. But Rodolfo Rivera says they can still make Joyce versus Chisora. Jesus Sim says
yeah,
Torres the future of the heavyweight. Oh, we'll get to Torres there for sure. There. But yeah, Rodolfo they can still make Joyce versus Chisora. Yeah, it said Boz said it. Yep, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You were all
Pulev,
on the same page. It says fight Pulev. He's always down. Yeah, hey, Joyce
yeah.
versus Pulev. Why not?
I think they're about equal in age also, so
Yeah, yeah,
maybe.
they're pretty much around that.
I
Pulev
think
might have a
Pulev is
year on him or
maybe,
something like that.
is he 41 or something? 42
Yeah,
maybe.
Pulev might have a year or two on him, but they're not far off from
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
So
Pulev
that's
is, yeah,
interesting. But yeah, heavyweight division. I mean, still some names out there, so some stuff can be done. There's still names
yeah,
out there. Of course, we know Alexander Usyk is number one right now, so it's a matter of who does Usyk fight. Is it going to be Daniel Dubois? Is it going to be Joseph Parker, who put himself back there to get a title shot? Question is still out there, so we'll see. I don't think anything's been
yeah.
announced right now.
I mean, I think Parker would probably beat Hergovich if they fought. Not now. I mean,
Yeah, I do too.
this year, yeah. So I don't know really. Maybe Martin Bakoli would be another equally huge guy as Hrgovic. Maybe
That'll be
that
a tough
fight.
one right there. That'll be
Yeah,
an interesting one for sure.
yeah,
I like
interesting.
to see
Anyway,
it. I
yeah,
like to see it. Maybe we can
yeah,
get something like that, but we'll see. But also on this card right here, Boz, you mentioned David Adelaide. He picked up a 6-round stoppage over the
yeah,
TKV by the name of
yeah.
TKV,
that was
and
a that was not a pretty fight.
no,
Definitely.
not. Yeah, it was not. But Adelaide, man, when he loads up on those punches, you can see he has some good
Yeah.
power behind him, and he was catching.
Fortunately, he did that in time,
Did
so
you
he
see their press
prevented.
conference?
Oh yeah, I saw something like
That little thing where he threw
somebody
the
hit the
table.
table, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's become a standard in British boxing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is.
A
It is.
custom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt about it. So I thought that TKV was gonna come out a little bit different, a bit more aggressive, but he didn't, and
yeah.
he got
He
taken out. But they
tried,
had
but
history.
yeah, he's not in good shape. And he's only had like 10 fights, I believe, before. He's like
Yeah,
36 or something, 37. I don't know.
yeah.
So
So they
he
had some
started too late.
history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a weird fight with one guy wearing pink socks and the other guy
yeah.
looking like he had just come out of, I don't know, eating a donut eating contest or something. Pie eating contest.
Yeah, those socks stuck
Yeah,
out for David Adelaide for sure. There, Rodolfo says, "I don't know where they picked up this TKE guy." Yeah,
yeah.
apparently they
TKE.
had some history, maybe sparring and all of that stuff from the gym,
Yeah,
from
weird,
gyms around
weird
there.
guy.
But yeah,
Jamie.
one of
Yeah,
those things. But Adelaide, hey, we'll see. We'll see. He's someone that can be thrown in there, or his name's in the mix there. Thinking about some of the other British heavyweights that are out there.
that'll be a
Certainly, you
war.
think about the
Yeah.
Johnny Fishers of the world.
Yeah. The
That'll be
Johnny
interesting.
Fisher, that's right. The
We saw,
very average heavyweights.
yeah, we saw Fabio Wardley, what he was able to do, and he's gonna have a fight coming up with Jarrell Miller, interestingly. But Fabio, he seems to have the goods there. But we'll
Yeah.
see what the deal is there with David Adelaide as he continued forward. I was never overly impressed with David Adelaide. I know he was on a lot of match. He's been on a lot of matchroom cards and such, or he had been. I think it was Matchroom or Queensberry, because this might have been Queensberry Promotions, right? But that being said, he we'll see. We'll see
Oh.
what
Well, I see.
ultimately
Actually, I didn't know this guy. Oh yeah, he beat the guy from Serbia. This David Adelaide, Emir Ahmatovic before that. All right, sorry,
comes.
just noticed that. A countryman almost of mine. Yeah,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's get stuff. So yeah, they've been building him up. So we'll see what he turns into ultimately. But yeah, there's still the verdict still out. He has power, no doubt about it. But yeah,
yeah.
we'll see how things shape out. There were a couple of other fights on the card.
He's
Rafferty got a
very
TK over Reagan, Majid over Murphy with a decision. So that was good.
he's very muscular Adelaide.
Yeah,
So that can
yeah,
slow
yeah,
you down sometimes. That's the problem. I
yeah.
think.
Again, yeah, not a high output guy for sure.
Yeah,
So it kind of looks for those single punches, but it's a heavyweight division. A single punch can
yeah.
change things. But thank you
True.
all. Once again, we're here, Boxing Chit, Boxing Chit. Boz's Boxing, 86 Boxers in the mix. You see it there in the banner. Oh, yeah. And brought to you by Choice Habit. Be sure to check out Choice Habit for your PR needs there, baby. Choice Habit. The QR code is right there in the middle. I want you to check it out. Be sure to hit up the website. Hit them up if you need something PR-wise. You're looking for marketing, engagement, all of that good stuff. Hey, they have you covered there. Choice Habit. But another edition of Boxing Chit. As mentioned, we're talking about the action from this past weekend. A lot of good, solid action from an overall perspective. So we were just talking about Joyce Hrgovic, what could be next for them. But another pretty impressive performance that came about that was on a card that went down in Astana, Kazakhstan was Janabek Alamkhanoli taking on
Right.
Ngasamingo, I think his name like Ngasamingo, an undefeated French fighter who came in game, said he was ready for a war
Yeah.
with Janabek, and I got to give it to him. He did not back down. He most certainly did not back down, but ultimately he was stopped in the fifth round with a hellacious combination, and it was actually two left hooks that did him in. Janabek caught him with a left hook that rocked him, sent his eyes rolling, and then he caught him with another left hook that doubled that thing up back to back. And my man went timber down to the ropes right there. He was able to get up. I give it to him. He did get up, but I think it was a darn good stoppage. I think the corner and the referee both were kind of in the midst of stopping it at the same time. But it was a good one there, Boz. I don't know how much of that one you caught, but Janabek Alam Canoli still making his case. Okay, well, Janabek is making his case as the best 160 pounder in the world. Some you could argue that he is. It's the verdict still out at 160 right now because there is some other talent around there, but Janabek certainly a name there. I do think he would take out Arizlandi Lara. I don't see Lara fighting him actually, and Lara does have a belt.
Yeah,
but you have some other guys around there. Carlos Adames, he's there. Hamza Shiraz, he's there. You have, you have
moved up. I believe Hamza was going to move up to 168.
Yeah, and he has the frame to do that for sure. So I could see it.
Yeah,
but Janabek says he's open for names at 160 up to 168. Even he's calling out names.
I was just thinking that he will probably in future to get a big fight. He will have to fight at 168 also. Probably. Yep.
Yeah, most certainly that's going to be the case because at 160 right now, I don't. There's certainly not a bigger name that you can get.
It's not a stacked division.
Some of those at 168. Canelo's at 168, so most certainly you can't find a bigger name there. But that being said, 160. I believe he's shown interest in taking all the titles there, but there's also a matter of getting everyone in the ring, and he hasn't been able to do that, or Top Rank hasn't been able to do that thus far, understandably, because he is tough to deal with in terms of just that size, frame, and man, he can box. He has power. He has that knockout power, that one punch power in some cases, and man, he's just a tough guy to deal with. That being said, Denzel Bentley went in there with him, and he stayed focused, poised, and boxed, and Janabek wasn't able to stop him. That being said, Denzel definitely had to, have the right game plan. You have to have the right game plan when you're in there with a guy like Janabek for sure. And man, he might, as I said, he might very well be the best at 160. We'll see if he can get some of these other guys in there with him. Otherwise, move up to 168. And of course, there's still a line at 168 in terms of getting a shot at the titles because Canelo, man, he's the man there right now. And he realistically, even if he moved up to 168, he's not going to get Canelo certainly this year, and even next year would be a question, to be honest with you, because Canelo is only fighting twice a year, and there's some things kind of lined up just based on the trajectory, I would say, because you have guys like Diego Pacheco or they're kind of a name in California, etc., who may ultimately be there. Christian Mbili,
Iglesias.
So in all likelihood, Janabek would have to take on one of those guys.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more exciting fighters at 168 and 160. So right now,
Now, do you think Janabek is number one at 160?
Yeah, I think so. But he still, of course, he has to fight Adames and beat him to be really universally recognized as number one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one. Who do you like in that fight?
Yeah, I don't know really. It will be a hard fight, definitely close one. But Probably, I think Janibek. I would lean towards him, but anything is possible, of course.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
certainly. Hey, yeah, Donovan showed us, yeah, against
yeah. It's
Rise
a
as
very
well.
good boxer. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, yeah. For his size, he was always a bulky looking guy to me. But that being said, it doesn't slow him down from the looks of things.
No,
He doesn't really tire out like you see some guys like that. Same with
no.
Mbili. Mbili, despite being this sort of bulky, like ripped guy, he doesn't really tire out. He's still banging there as he goes through the rounds.
Yeah, he's not a tall guy, so maybe had he been tall, maybe I don't know, he would have more problems with stamina. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, interesting stuff there for sure. But Janabuk, hey, as mentioned, he got that win. Also on there, Zarabuk got a win over Fuzili, South African fighter. Zarabuk, he's this Genghis Khan looking Kazakh fighter that
Oh,
I think they can build him up pretty well if they get them out there on television more. But he has the look and feel of something that can be pretty special in the sport. But he was able to do pretty solid. And then Jalolov, he actually fought. He got a win over Igor,
oh,
the Ukrainian heavyweight Igor Shevadzuski. Jalolov was able to pull that off. And
yeah.
we were chatting about this with Rodolfo, Black Boxing, etc. We're kind of talking about Jalolov. He has that amateur victory over Richard Torrez, who we're talking about in terms of knocking Richard Torrez out. And Jalolov, hey, he's very skilled, has 2 gold medals. I feel like, I want to see him a little bit more, At this point, Richard Torrez has a better competition on the pro side than Jalolov. That being said, I figured we'd see more of Jalolov to this point, but I don't think we've seen as much of him as I thought we would here, Uzbek heavyweight there. So we'll see how things go.
I see this was the first time he had to go the distance. Interesting. Even though he scored a knockdown.
Yeah, it was a good one. He boxed well in that contest. He probably could have taken Ihor out, but it would have put himself at risk. He wasn't willing to fully sit down on to do that.
We will probably see him soon on a Riyadh card, obviously.
Yeah, that would be good. But man, huge guy, 6'7". He can move well for his size as well. You think about some of those big guys there at that weight. He definitely moves well from an overall standpoint. So Jalolov, folks, if you don't know, Uzbek heavyweight, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He won one in this past Olympics here in 2024 as well. So he had got one in the Olympics prior, I believe, but he went back this year as well, or this past year as well. So he's a name to certainly watch there, folks, if you get the opportunity. Cool. Again, Boxing Chat, we are here live. Be sure to check out the QR code, all the things on the screen. Be sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate everyone who is here in the mix and those that will be listening. We're talking action from this past weekend, and there was a ton of it, baby. There was a ton of it. But yeah, so I want to mention that we also had a big card that was headlined by 2 heavyweights here in the U.S. in Las Vegas at the Palms Casino. And that was a guy who, as Jesus M put it, is the future of the heavyweight division. Jesus M says, he said not the future. Okay, my bad. You're right. I got you there. Jesus, I thought you said he was. But Torres says, Jesus M says not the future, but a guy that in theory could be the future of the heavyweight division. And Richard Torrez taking on Italian heavyweight and Olympian Guido Vianello, Guido the Gladiator Vianello. And this was certainly a step up fight for Richard Torrez as it related to Vianello. He's been in there with some pretty solid opponents thus far. And hey, he's righted the ship in terms of he's had, some had a draw and then lost to F.A. Ajagba. But that being said, the better competition on Vianello's side. But Richard Torrez, a guy promising, decorated amateur there on the USA side, Olympian as well. And he is someone that Top Rank has been pushing. 6'2", 230 is what he came in. Vianello, for example, he's 6'6" and came in, I want to say around 250 in this contest, if I recall. With that being said, Richard Torrez, this was a step-up fight for him. And I will say that he was faster than Vianello. He had moments where he was outworking Vianello, and Vianello was doing a lot of holding there early on in the contest. I should note there, Boz, and Richard Torrez, he seemed to overcome that. So a lot of the early portion of the contest was the two of them on the inside and kind of just tied up. But Richard Torrez kept punching, even though he was being held and tied up there on the inside. So it took about 3 rounds before Vianello started to get his spacing down a bit more. Torrez started to slow down a tad bit, and Vianello had some success there from the outside. He was able to land. He was really landing the right uppercut. That was a good one for him, because as Torrez got a bit tired, a bit more fatigued, he got a little bit sloppier with his technique, and found himself kind of reaching and lunging in there, and even tying up Vianello for that matter. But Torrez ended up reversing course, and in the latter portion of the fight, certainly the last 2 to 3 rounds, Torrez, he was back on the offensive more and seemed to be a little bit more controlled. And he was landing some big shots on Vianello, who at that time was all but exhausted from the looks of things, though he was still hanging in there. And it ultimately ended up being a decision victory that went in favor of Richard Torrez, unanimous. That by that case, it was actually wide on the scorecard, maybe a tad bit wider on a couple of the scorecards than expected. But that being said, it wasn't too far off. I do think that Richard Torrez won the contest, and Vianello was deducted a point for holding in like the second round. Rightfully so. Referee Steve Taylor was in there. He's a good referee, but he did deduct a point for Vianello, and he could have deducted more than that, to be honest with you, because Vianello was doing a crap ton of holding there. But that being said, Richard Torrez was able to pull off the victory in a step-up fight for him. And Jesus M said Torrez is not the future of the heavyweight division, and I don't know. I don't know in the sense that I can't say definitively that he is myself there. He is very promising, but hey, the landscape is tough at the top end of the heavyweight division. So there's a lot to overcome, I just think, from an overall perspective, but time will most certainly tell there.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, Vianello, he looked good in his last 2 fights. He stopped Mahmudov and was some thought he was robbed against Jagba. Anyway, it was a close fight.
Yeah,
he looked good there. So yeah, I'm surprised to hear that he wasn't as good last night. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was just a combination of styles that.
Yeah, him fighting a much shorter guy. And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, which is going to be the case. Certainly at the top there. It's going to be the case. Skywalker Boxer mentioned Richard a short heavyweight. If he had more reach, he would be a problem. Yeah, certainly, but by that same token, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. You know what I'm saying there? Skywalker, that's how the saying goes.
Today's heavyweight divisions, yeah, it's really hard not to be, when you are not like at least 6'4", 6'5", I don't know. Yeah.
So I liken him in terms of size. He's closer to the like Ajit Kabayels and the Alexander Usyk size-wise, and they have success. So there are formulas for these smaller guys to beat these big dudes.
You don't have to be, of course, you don't have to be a huge guy. So still, if you know how to, break down your opponent, your much bigger opponent and stuff, land the punches.
Yeah, and Torrez, stylistically though, it seems like he wants to get in there, get on the inside, and hammer away, and when that's not going to be easy in all instances, and then you have to kind of just mix it up a good bit. So I think he showed that of course, he has that will. He can kind of rebound and get back on focus. If things start to shift a tad, and that was the case there in some of the middle rounds with Vianello, finding his range a little bit more. But Torrez wasn't discouraged from it. He found his second wind as well, and he went in there. He started to kind of pace himself a little bit better as he started to break down and catch Vianello with some of those hooks that he was throwing there. And I think Torrez, his footwork it's decent, it's solid. Certainly for a heavyweight, he can move well relative to some of the slower, more lumbering heavyweights that we've seen out there. So there's something there, most certainly. There is something there. And it's crazy. We say he's not a big heavyweight. He's 6'2", 230. So it's not like he's small, you know what I'm saying? But it's just one of those things.
It's not like James Toney size heavyweight.
Yeah. So it's very interesting there. So we'll see. I think the verdict's still out. I think a lot of it is going to have to do with the matchmaking in terms of Torrez. I think he can be built up for sure. I think he can continue to generate and garner a fan base. And we'll just see how things go about, how things come about here as time goes on. As far as his prospects for the future, hey, anything is possible there in the heavyweight division. All it takes is a punch there. It's certainly tough sledding in the top levels of it. I mean, just even with some of the guys we've named here today, just talking about discussions with Herkovich, Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, and some of the others that have been mentioned as well. There's a lot of competition up there, and that's not even including some of the guys who are right there on the brink, the Frank Sanchez's of the world, So it's a lot of competition there in the heavyweight division, but that doesn't mean that Torrez isn't capable of at least getting through the bulk of it, But that matchmaking is going to be key. I think they brought him on well over the last fighter 3, I guess you could say. But we'll see as he step it up,
I see he's 25, so there's still time, of course, and you cannot judge everything by one. His first big fight, let's say this was. So it's too soon to tell, whether he will be the future or not. Maybe not the future, but he can certainly have some success. So why not?
Yeah, he can definitely have that. He's still a name out there. And if we think about American heavyweights, he can, garner that backing and be that guy. Jared Anderson is still out there. I didn't see his last contest. I know he got a victory there. We'll see how things transpire with him. He keeps his head on straight, but there's still, I guess, promise there for him as well. Despite that Bacoli loss, that was a major step up for him. So we have Anderson and Torrez out there, both under the top-ranked banner, as a matter of fact. But, hey, there are some other impressive young heavyweights out there. Think about like Moises Atoma. Man, he's a problem right there as well. And he's got less fights than both of these guys, right? So there's some competition out there.
Yeah, Moses is just one thing I don't like is that he doesn't look to be in such great shape body-wise. His body could look a little better, but other than that, he's been very impressive so far. The way he's able to get the knockout, pretty amazing. Yeah,
and I think he might have just turned 20 if he's not still 19. I think he would have just turned 20 here.
He's definitely a lot better than his brother. I mean, Carol is just mid-level, fighter.
Yeah, limited. He's certainly a bit a bit limited there. Carol.
Yeah, limited.
Rodolfo says, I would take Richard Torrez over Jared Anderson. Hey, that'll be an interesting one. Maybe that one happens. They're both under that same banner.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've done any work with each other in the past or anything of that nature. I don't know if anyone out there knows. Definitely let us know in the comments or whatever it may be. Has Richard Torrez and Jared Anderson, have they crossed paths in the amateurs or maybe even in sparring or anything of that nature? But that would be an interesting one. They could certainly try and build up this as a contest, the American heavyweights going against each other. But we'll see.
There's something. I'm looking at a picture of Torres Jr. There's something nice about him, the way he looks.
Yeah,
his gaze and all that on this picture. So I think he can become very popular. Of course, he's probably already popular
yeah,
among Mexican Americans. So
yeah.
yeah,
He has a good personality, all of that stuff. Yeah, I think they can get that backing, no doubt about it. They just yeah, they just have to get the right matchups for sure. And I will say with this contest with Vianello, it was very sloppy. Not necessarily solely on the part of Torres. I think just stylistically, it was a sloppy contest. So this is his
right.
first headlining contest, and unfortunately for him, it was a very sloppy one that featured a lot of holding, them getting tied up there through the early portions of it. It might have turned some people off,
Yeah,
and got a
I
little bit
agree.
better towards the end, but you had a mixture of that throughout. But I think that was somewhat the size and style and Vianello
Yeah,
at
sorry. That's what
stages
I
of
was
just.
thinking. That was the wrong opponent, obviously, Vianello, and it is only his 13th fight. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what's in store. Richard Torrez, folks, be sure to let us know in the comments your thoughts. What's next for Richard Torrez, or what do you think about him just in general on what he can do here in the mix of this heavyweight division with varying aptitudes of competition there for sure.
Yeah.
Also, want to mention on this card, Abdullah Mason got a 6 round victory over O'Neal, excuse me, a late replacement Mexican opponent who was very tough. Mason, man, super sharp in there. Abdullah Mason, he was landing these, as they say, punching in between punches. You could say countering, man, with some hard left hooks that he sent
Right.
my man to a knee 3 times. He voluntarily went to a knee because he was shaken up. This was on 3 occasions. Then that last one, it pretty much was over with. But Mason, man, talk about promise, a guy who wants it offensively as well. He's someone they can build up, and I think his name is already a buzzing out there because people look forward to seeing him in action there. So shout out to Abdullah Mason there, who picked up a victory. Then you had Delgado picking up a majority decision victory over Elvis Rodriguez, who also used to be top rank alum. I don't know if they're back with some dealing, but both had a lot of promise. Delgado took a huge shot there, I think in the 8th or 9th round that sent him stumbling all the way on to the other side of the ring. But that being said, he had put in enough work there that in a close contest, he ended up getting the majority decision over Elvis Rodriguez. So
Hmm.
what's next for him? Then there were a couple of others that were in action there on the same side for that particular card. I'll mention also, it looks like Mikewan Williams, who I thought would get that victory, fought at Philadelphia Arena or 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. He lost to a majority decision to Antonio Moran, who looked to be pretty. Oh yeah, you had one judge had it even, the other one's 93-97. Michael Williams, he's out of Connecticut, matter of fact. So I'm surprised, but yeah, he actually took a loss there. He's out of Hartford, that area of Connecticut. So Antonio Moran, a veteran, he won Pro Box's tournament that they did a little while back, might
Right.
have been last year or
Yeah,
whatnot.
he fought Devin Haney. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was at that fight right there. That was when Danny got that huge knockout.
Yeah.
He loaded up right there for it and caught Moran coming in with a boom. And I think it was a huge right. That Haney, he had been waiting for it. He was timing that junk and bam,
All
caught
right.
him. It was over. It was nice. Um, so yeah, that was cool. But Moran, hey, he's been in there. He's got a pretty decent resume, realistically speaking, and he can box, he can fight. So he's a good parameter. Certainly, think about the elite level. He might be just under that, but you got to beat a guy like Moran to get to that next level, And he's one of those that you can pretty much throw him in there with any guy, and he's going to put up a fight for the most part. So Mike Line, man, he was on a little trajectory. We'll see how he does from here. I'm seeing Huey Fury was fighting there here, Boz last the Fast Friday.
We
Huey Fury got a 6 rounder. Now I don't know that he got a TKO victory. I don't know if it means anything in the grand scheme of things, but that's a name out there in the Fury world right there. But that being
Yeah.
said, that's what went down there. Now let's look at what's coming up there, Boz. Again, thank you and shit. We're talking about the action for the past weekend. We're about to take a look ahead on what's in store. So, it looks like on Tuesday we have a fight in Japan, Kawamitsu versus Takami. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be very early. So you're going to have to be up to watch that one. It doesn't have an actual broadcast partner that is listed here, so I don't know. It may be more local there to the region as far as how you can actually watch it. Then this Thursday we have a card on ESPN Plus out of Canada. I wonder if it's either Tiger Asano versus Patera. I don't know either of those names, but the marquee fight. Yeah, the marquee fight and event for this coming weekend. Yeah, not in Norway. I don't think. Yeah. But the marquee fighting event for this coming weekend is Journe Ennis versus Imantes Stanionis there, Boz. And this is, I think, a heavy hitter there for the welterweight division. As far as I'm concerned, given where it's at now, the two best welterweights there in the world, though Stanionis has had a couple of setbacks activity-wise here over the last 2 years. That being said, man, when he's on it, he's on it. So we're finally going to get this matchup, which I think that we all saw coming at some point. So we're going to have the IBF, WBA, and vacant ring welterweight championship on the line. The Boardwalk Hall, Atlantic City. I thought about going to this one at one point, but it's going down there. So Journe Boots Ennis versus Imantes Stanionis there, Boz. What you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Stanionis is more of a boxer type than when it's a boxer versus puncher, definitely fight, I would say, and yeah, it's gonna be, I don't know really. Ennis, I think Stanionis can definitely give Ennis problems with his skills and all that. Of course, he will have to be very smart and clever, fight clever, and not engage, in these slugfest. I mean, not slugfest. Yeah, of course that's too, but not trade with Ennis anyway too much, and that. So, but still, of course, Ennis is a very dangerous fighter. Even though in his last fight, he wasn't able to get his opponent out of there. That guy, Chukajian, very tough guy.
Aaron Chukajian.
Yeah, we'll see about how he handles Stanionis, but
Stanionis, he's not gonna fight like Karen for sure.
No. So I just hope whoever wins gets the decision. I hope the decision will be fair anyway. That's all I can say. Yeah, but probably there's a big chance this goes the distance also. This fight.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably lean that way as well. Both will have their moments. The more athletic guy, certainly Journe Boots Ennis. Stanionis, man, he's tough mentally, and I saw him seeing him in there with Raja Batayev. That showed that he's willing to trade a shot for a shot, and he can take a decent punch as well. But Ennis, man, at times it looks like he has the absolute total package, and when he puts it all together, I mean, he's one of the more impressive looking boxers in the sport, just in general, from that visual eye test, and I think that, when it's all said and done, it might be a fairly close contest, but I do think that Ennis has a little bit more wrinkles to his game. We can offer a little bit more there on the athletic side, and I think he understands the magnitude. Yeah, I think he understands the magnitude. And had Stanionis been able to continue with the trajectory he was on without those setbacks that were no fault of his own, in most cases, some of it just being matched with Virgil Ortiz and him running into issues. He had a emergency appendectomy. Stanionis did in the midst of that run. So I think the activity might have hurt him.
Right.
Or it might hurt him, but so I'm going to lean Jaron Ennis as well in that regard. But I do think it should be a pretty decent fight.
Yeah. And if the stoppage happens, I don't think it will happen before, like round 9 or something, 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there. So, yeah, that's what's going down. And on that card, they have some other pretty decent fights. Raymond Ford versus Thomas Matisse. That should be a good one right there. You have Popaka versus Carto. I don't know. Popaka. And then Diasov versus Ocampo. These are some of the cards. So this is going to be on the Zone, folks, and that's going to be Saturday, April 12th. We also have a card that's going to be here, local to the area on Pro Box TV. Jordan Short Dog White is going to be taking on, I think he's out of Argentina, a fighter named Romero there. And shout out to the others from this area who are going to be on there. Shout out to Irvin Trey Pound Fuller III, who we interviewed here a couple of days ago. And he's going to be fighting on that card as well. Young fighter coming up, prospect stage. He's got power in both hands, and I think he'll have a good showing. Frankie the Franchise, Scarborough, Benjamin Johnson, Jordan Roach. So you're gonna have some good names on there. That's gonna be on Pro Box this weekend coming up, going down at Maryland Live Casino in Hanover, Maryland. I might be out there, as a matter of fact. I need to get tickets, but the plan and intent is to be out there in the building there, baby. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. Real quick, Rodolfo Rivera says Jacqueline Moses is on the card too, Shakira's cousin. Okay. That's what's up right there. And then he says he beat Carmel Moten in the amateurs. Oh, okay, big time right there. Carmel, we know what he's turning into. And having seen Carmel live, man, he's the real deal. Him, Marcus Luther, real deal. Marcus Luther is still on the amateur side, though, I want to note. But, yeah, some good guys coming up out there. But, dog, good stuff. So we'll see how the weekend or what all it has in store. We're going to be tuned in there. But, man, we appreciate everyone who dropped by to show us some love here on another edition of Boxing Shit out of the hiatus there, but it has been great. Any last words there, Boz?
Well, nothing special. Just stay tuned and enjoy the fights, of course.
Indeed. And as I mentioned at the top, be sure to check out Boz's Boxing. It's you'll see it listed in the description, things of that nature. You see it here on the banner, Boz's Boxing, BOZ''S Boxing. There's a YouTube channel out there. It's linked as well here, Boz's Boxing. So be sure to go check it out and be sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Do the same here, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll be back here next week, and we appreciate all of you. So enjoy your weekend.
Yep.
Thanks all.